I came across this really cool micro interaction where if you hover over this Let's Talk link, it creates a nice smooth arrow animation that follows the mouse. Now there's a bunch of things happening here, so I thought it'd be cool to recreate this effect. Now, the weapons of choice for this tutorial are HTML and CSS, some light JavaScript, and the GreenSock animation platform. If you enjoyed this video, check out DesignCourse.com where you can learn UI, UX, CSS, and more with my custom interactive platform that makes learning fun and easy. All right, so here I am within the body tags of an HTML document, and we're gonna start off by creating just some HTML. So first we're gonna have a cursor, a div element. Outside of that, we're also going to have a cursor of a hand element. Now the cursor element is simply going to be the tiny little black circle that follows around the mouse, and then the hand element is going to be the purple circular element with the SVG of a hand graphic inside of it. I'm simply going to go ahead and paste that in right there. Notice there's no width or attributes. We could also remove this attribute right here. And then after that, all we do is have an H1. So the H1 is going to be let's chat, enter. And that's it for our HTML. All right, so I'm in a SAS file over here, and we have the result here on the right. And if I go ahead and paste this in, this is the initial rule set of body. Nothing too special is happening here. We have display grid and place content center. That's just for the let's chat. Now the other two elements that we have, the cursor and hand, those are going to be position fixed, so they extend outside of that. Additionally, we have an H1 element, and we're just going to give that a font size of 20 em units. Actually, I'm going to probably scale that down just for the purpose of this demo, maybe to like 13. We're just going to save, line height 0, and it's down here at the bottom here mainly because these other elements, the SVG element is real big. It's just also white, so we can't see it. So after that, we're going to go ahead and specify our cursor and hand. Now these share just some similar properties, and that is going to be both are position fixed, both will have left of 0, both will have a border radius of 50%, pointer events will be none, and this is important because when you're doing the hover elements, you don't want them getting in the way and affecting the mouse move and such in JavaScript. Both will have a transition of transform of just 0.1 seconds, and that is it right there. Next up, we're going to have our actual cursor. So the cursor, again, is this small black element that will follow it around. So background black, and we're going to do a top of 0, and then we will also do a width of 20 pixels and a height of 20 pixels. Now at this point, we can see it right up there in a very tiny corner. And also a z-index of 999. This will ensure that it stays on top of everything. Additionally, we're going to come over here and we're going to have our hand. Now this is the element that shows up when we hover over the let's chat. So let's give this a background color of RGB 155, 0, 255. We're also going to give it a top of 50%, so it's down 50% of the way. A width of 150 pixels, a height of 150 pixels. Now we can see it. We're also going to give it a z-index of 9999. This means it will stay on top of the black cursor element. And then we're also going to do a display grid, place content, center. All right, and then in order to see this, let's take our SVG element specifically. Note I am using SAS, so I can nest within. With 80 pixels, that brings it back. And then just a couple other properties. We're going to have a transform, rotate of 45 degrees. Based on the original effect, we saw that when somebody hovers over that element, it will also rotate. So we'll rotate it back to 0 upon the hover. And then we're also going to have an opacity of 0, which will hide it initially. All right, great. So that is all the CSS that we need. Now we're going to switch gears to JavaScript. Okay, so just before your closing body tag on the HTML, we want to go ahead and import the script tag for GSAP, or the GreenSock animation platform. I'll go ahead and make sure to link the Codepen so that you can just grab this, or you can go to Google and type in GSAP3 CDN first result. You can copy that right there. Now, next up, we want to put everything inside of a script tag. And inside of here, the first thing we're going to do is set the actual cursor right here, this tiny black circle with GSAP set. This simply means that it's going to take the cursor and ensure that whenever it starts to follow our mouse, it's going to show up right in the center of our cursor. All right, after that, we're going to go ahead and create a few different properties. The first three, as shown here, will simply give us access to the relevant HTML elements, the cursor, the hand, and the title. And then we're also going to store some values here for the mouse X and Y so that we can use it in a few different add event listeners that we're going to define. Now, all right, so after that, we're going to go ahead and create a window.add event listener on mouse move. We're going to pass in the E, or the event, which will give us the mouse coordinates. So mouse X equals e.client X, and then same thing for the mouse Y. Now in here, all we simply state is GSAP 2. We're going to take our cursor at 0.5 for duration, and then X is going to be mouse X, and then Y will be mouse Y. This allows the cursor to start following around our actual mouse. Very simple. Of course, if you adjust this number and you also adjust the transition property in our SAS file, you can affect how quickly this follows around, or the lag, so to speak. All right, so now let's work on the actual hand graphic based on our H1 element here. So our H1 element is tied to title right up here. So let's go ahead and create an event listener on title. So add event listener. This is going to be mouse enter. We're going to have a few of these for mouse enter, mouse move, and then also mouse leave. All right, inside of here, what we're going to say is GSAP2 hand. Again, hand is the actual little purple hand graphic we created. 1 second. We're going to say scale 1, opacity 1. So remember, this is occurring when our mouse hovers, or enters rather, over the H1 element of Let's Chat. We're going to say top. This is going to be so that it centers the actual element, the circle, based on where our mouse position is. So let's also specify left. We're using 75 pixels or negative 75 pixels because it's 150 pixels, and that puts us in the center. Should have left that there. And then we're also going to have a rotate 0. Remember, by default, we were rotating that by 45 degrees. And then just to make it interesting, you don't have to do this. We can add a custom ease elastic here. So if you go to Google and type GSAP3 easings, you'll see a little visual editor. This is one of the elements that you can choose right here. So if you see this, it doesn't work quite right. It's not following our mouse position yet, but it is showing up here on the left. That's because we don't have it tied to a event listener of mouse move. So let's go ahead and create that real quick. So I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to paste this. Now this is going to change here to mouse move. And then we're going to go ahead and remove all this stuff in the center. We're going to say X is mouse X, Y is mouse Y. Now let's save it. And there we go. Now we have one final element. When we hover out, we're going to hide this. So this is going to be on a mouse leave. So we'll take this. Actually, we'll go ahead and just take this initial one. Mouse leave. All right, this is going to be 0.2. Okay, the opacity here is going to be 0. Scale is going to be 0. Now the top, I'm just going to put at 10, and then left is 40. And this basically, you adjust these two values based on how it looks and how it appears where the circle over here is exiting. Rotate back to 45 degrees, and we can get rid of ease. Let's go ahead and save. And look at that. There we go.